need someone to talk to and you don't know what to do, call us 214-4400 when you're feeling all alone and they turn their back on you. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us.
You're listening to the Kind Counseling Podcast. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now back to the show. Welcome to the Kind Counseling Podcast. It's your host, Dania Roberts. And today we have a special guest for you guys. But first, let me introduce my co-host. First, we got Brother Al, Big Al from VA. All right. Then we got my beautiful wife, Miss Dania Roberts, over here. Just all the way back from Pennsylvania. She came all the way back real fast to get into this podcast. She was excited and tired at the same time. All right. So and we got a special guest with us today, and I just want to welcome our guest, Mr. William Belle. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well today. Today is a good day for me.
All right. All right. So, William, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Like I told you before in the short bio I signed, I was born in Barbados. So if you notice that the way that I speak is a little bit easier on your ear is just because I'm from Barbados. I'm from Barbados. I migrated here maybe I'm counting maybe 45 years ago. I came here as a 28-year-old. Like most people, migrate to the United States seeking greener pastures. So I came here 1978. I was married then and had a 5-year-old daughter, and settled in Brooklyn until I make my way to where I am. But to just go back a little bit and to kind of give you a bit of a little picture of what my life looked like. I probably grew up like the average poor person growing up in Barbados. I was part of a large family, a family of 10. There are 7 sisters and 2 older brothers. And we were the poorest of the poor. We were the poorest of the poor because for one particular reason is that my father was not the kind of guy who made a priority of bringing home his check. He found different ways and means to split that check before it got home. So we were the poorest of poor. So I probably grew up without a lot of high expectations. I grew up just accepting life as it came. So I don't know how much that shaped me today, but that's kind of the way that I grew up back then.
All right. So William, obviously, so one of the things that as we discussed before you came on, we wanted you to give just some perspective, on aging. If I don't know if that's the politically correct word as they say today, but
Sure.
you're a man who is 73 years old, and you're like my my workout buddy, man. So this guy is Mr. Olympia. All right. So
Sure.
we wanted to just talk a little bit about what's it like for you, because sometimes like we don't even consider certain things as we get older, right? And I wanted you to just give the audience like some perspective on on aging, and just what's that been like for you, or just tell us a little bit about that, from whichever angle you want to come from.
Yeah, most of the time when you think in terms of age, and when I meet younger people and they're saying I can't wait to be retired. They're thinking of terms of getting older. And usually the picture that's in their mind is one of probably sitting somewhere in the Caribbean underneath a coconut tree with a pina colada and not having to,
Right.
to, get up and to go to work. But that's only one part of it. It is a lot more. I think our society does a great job in some aspects of cluing us in and letting us know to prepare for retirement in terms of financial and the financial aspect. So growing older, you're always encouraged, save some for retirement, save some for growing older. But I think one of the overlooked areas of growing older is that we're usually not prepared for the emotional struggles that come with growing older. Involves a lot of loss, not only the loss of money, but in terms of, like, let's say if you work for many, many years and you're an important part of the organization you work with, now you lost probably who you are, probably identify with what you did, so you lost some who you are. Growing older again comes to the place where those people who are in your age group, the disease process takes a lot of them out. As we speak, there's someone that I know is not even buried, but in that same age group, and she died. So it comes with a lot of losses in terms of relationships, in terms of vitality. It comes with a loss of losses in terms of opportunities. So there is those emotional parts of the struggles with aging that you're really never ever prepared for. And what it also comes with is this is the time that, quote unquote, the disease process starts creeping into your life. Most of the time, and they remind you that, well, children under 5, over 65 shouldn't do this or should do that. You got to get the COVID test if you got to get the COVID vaccine if you're younger or if you're older, because they're saying you don't have a good immunity. Probably that is some of the emotional tolls comes with age, and then probably any of those places that you want me to follow the rabbit trail, I'll probably speak on a little bit.
Okay. Well, just in terms of like you mentioned, people passing away that you work with, or friends, or family. Like when my parents are both in their late 70s now, and it seems like a constant conversation is always either about their health or somebody that died or going to a funeral or is that one of the hard things about aging, you said? Is that what you said?
It's one of the realities of aging. There was a time when, as a young man, growing up with so many other young men, every month it seems like you were going to a wedding. You were going to a wedding. You were going to a christening. Now we're going to funerals. We're going to nursing homes. So that is part of the dynamics of getting old. And your circle of friends also decreases. Sometimes we take for granted that the relationships that we have when we're young, how many different people that we're in relationship with. Well, as you get older, a lot of those people who are in relationship with you kind of withdraw to certain areas, like some woman that she'll go off and live with her kids somewhere, so she's not in a relationship, or some man, he's moving in with his son somewhere else. So and you really don't have the time to build relationships like we do when you're young. So there's also a lot of loss of a relationship at a time when it's probably most necessary. Because growing older, one of the things that probably helped you to, not decline cognitively is being in good community with good relationships. So at a point where you really need more relationships, there's a point where you get in less relationships.
Mm-hmm. So, William, let me ask you this. So, you're speaking about losses as you get older. Now, and maybe you can speak to this if you've experienced this. I know you live with your wife still, but one of the things that I've seen happening with my parents is a loss of independence. So the tables turn, right? So when I was younger, they were the parent and I was a child. Now it's almost like I'm the parent, or me and my sisters are the parents, and they're, for lack of a better word, the children, right? Because we have to keep a close eye on them because my parents are in their 80s. So we have to keep a close eye on them. We have to make sure they get to their doctor's appointments. We have to make sure they have what they need, and so on and so forth. So have you experienced that, be it that you still live alone, or, is that something that is still down the line for you? Is that a reality for you at this point, or no?
Yeah, I haven't really, strange enough that you said that, because I kind of get to be blessed in this state that I have not declined as much as probably most other people in my age group. But I know that it is a reality of my age group. Recently, now I go to the doctor when I'm doing the intake forms. One of the questions they asked me, have you fallen lately? Can you go upstairs? Do you feel safe at home? Can you climb the stairs? Is there anyone home to help you? So these are all questions that's in on the intake form. And another one that was really a stark reminder, I am in this age group, whether I feel I want to recognize it or not. Recently, I made an appointment to have a colonoscopy. I haven't had one in 10 years. So I go and then get have the interview for the colonoscopy. And the physician said to me, he says, well, the last time you had one, there were no polyps. And he says, if you do another colonoscopy and if they're polyps, we remove them right away. And we'll send them for biopsy and we'll let you know the results. But if there are not any, the good news is you don't ever have to come back for another colonoscopy.
Wow.
Okay.
And it's like, he's saying to me, in other words,
Right.
you can't even outlive cancer. At your age group, no, you won't even outlive colon cancer. So,
Wow.
so that's
Wow.
and that was the good news. So yes, yeah.
Now I know you said
Yes.
you were 73 years old. Is there a point where you started taking your health more seriously, or is it just something you've done all your life? I know Cammy called you Mr. Olympia. Is that something that you just did your entire life, or was there a turning point where you decided, okay, my health is important to me?
No, I think I did this all my life. As a matter of fact, I said probably started being a vegetarian somewhere around maybe 40 years ago or so. But it was only on a whim. There was no deep philosophical reasons that made me decide to be a vegetarian. It was just out of whim. And after a while, you start doing something for any length of time, you kind of get stuck. So you just get stuck in these patterns. And there's one of the patterns that I got stuck in. In terms of exercising, I always love exercise. When I was a bit younger, I would run the New York marathons. I did 9 of them already, and probably more half marathons than I I can count. But so exercises that's my happy place. That's that's the place kind of you know um there's my happy spot when I'm in the gym exercising. When I'm out doing a long walk and I'm just alone with my thoughts, those are one of the things that really bring me a lot of comfort. So I always was the kind of person that would just exercise.
Mm. At what age do you start feeling the physical decline? Can you pinpoint that?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I think the physical decline sets in when you start to hit past 55. That's where for me that you recognize that I couldn't run as fast. I couldn't train at Sentinels at 730 PSA again. And when I lift, I I had shoulder pains and knee pains and stuff like that. So around the mid 50s, I started to notice that it was a physical decline.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Mm.
So William, just just a sensitive topic. Obviously, you're one of the rare men who has outlived two wives. All right. So we did want to, as we were talking before, most times it's the women that outlive their husbands. All right. So
Sure.
I did want you to speak about that in terms of what was that like for you, because having experienced the death of two wives, if you could
Mm.
talk about that a little.
Well, the I've got married as a very young guy back in 1973, and uh, back before I left Barbados, as I said, and when my daughter back in 1989,
Mm,
I had a 15-year-old daughter
mm,
and a 1-year-old son. We just had this brand new son that I was so excited about. I remember going to the hospital and acting like a fool because I had this kid, got dressed up. And I was like, wow, so exciting to have this son. And so I had a 15-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. And it's just at that point that my wife was starting to experience some pains in some areas of her chest and stuff like that. And to fast forward, diagnosis said that she had liver cancer. And between the time that she knew to the time of her death was like 3 months.
Mm.
So here was, just getting over the excitement of having a son. And now I'm faced with the prospect of being a single parent to a 1-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter. When I reflect on that, so much of we talk about what kind of grief do you experience at that time, but in retrospect, I don't think I had time to grieve. I don't think I was able to grieve. I don't think that I could trying to take care of a 1-year-old son and tell him, well, son, I'm depressed, so I'm gonna just stay in bed all day long.
mm,
No, I think I had to get up, get him ready, get him off to daycare, drop my daughter to high school, by then,
mm,
get home and pick them up and make dinner and put them to bed and to go over and over again. So in that sense, I think just meanwhile, I was working for DOE. So I think the just living and having to live life kind of hijack any sense of grief or any opportunity for grieving
Mm.
that would have been present for me. So that was how that went. Well, one of the things too that was I was always mindful of. But I probably am not the kind of person that would probably not ever get married again. So I know in my heart that that was a possibility. But also, I guess the overarching thing that I was dealing with is the idea of some evil stepmother stepping in and now messing up my old 1-year-old son
Mm.
and making life difficult for my daughter who I love so dearly.
Mm.
So the time in between when I my first wife died and the second wife died was almost 4 years because I could not bring myself to the place where emotionally I wanted for anyone to step into that space because I was not sure how it would work for my kids. So I was content to remain single. But one of the things that I let me mention this. One of the things that I experienced was not really grief, but I experienced a lot of regret.
Mm.
I had a lot of opportunities to look back at the way that I live and recognize that there was so many things I could have done a lot different.
Mm.
I was not emotionally present a lot of times with her.
Mm.
If you describe me, I'm someone who my default position would be to, and most of the time I probably was disconnected.
Mm.
I was not emotionally supportive I could have been. So I went through a long period, devastating period of just regret,
Mm.
regretting everything that I ever did.
Mm.
Um, so maybe that repressed the grief, the fact that I had so much regrets of the way that I behaved to, in the past.
Yeah. Mm.
So now you so you mentioned your first wife died of liver cancer. You tell us a little bit about what happened with your second wife, if that's all right.
Yeah, then oh, this relationship happened unexpectedly. One of the things that happened after that, having so much regret, I recognized that I had to step back into that place where I was before as a 16-year-old, and um, I had an active Christian life before, and then for many years, I had walked away from the faith, not kicking and screaming, but just drifted away. And during that period, I had a time to come back to rediscover again the Father's love and to get back home where I belong. So in that period, in that 4-year period, I came back and I reconnected, and so I this beautiful woman, but again, it was not my intention of starting a relationship because I really was too scared to be quite honest with it. To be honest, I was just scared.
Hmm.
But it happened organically, and we got married. I want to describe the marriage that we had as probably the most beautiful one that a man could ever have. We were fortunate in a sense to early on in our marriage to be asked to be uh, leaders, overseers of the marriage ministry in the local church in New York. And after time, then we were also asked to be overseers of and to design the premarital counseling that exists in the church. So we had an opportunity to know I'm supposed to say to couples and then get an opportunity to go home and practice it. And I was always mindful that the things that I say to couples, that my wife was watching to see if I'm going to behave the way that I acted or the way that I said. So that is just one part of it, but that is part of it. But we had a tremendous relationship. We had a love story that began when we met and when she died. There was no point, no time given, I talk about having regrets from the first relationship. So all the way that I behaved was fresh in my mind. And I recognized that this was not helpful. So the relationship with her was completely different. The
Can you tell us,
relationship
can you tell us what you did differently in your second marriage that you didn't do in the first?
emotionally available for her. And I think sometimes we tend to think, especially if you grow up in the Caribbean like I did, we tend to think that good husbands are good husbands who provide financially. But good husbands are also people who provide emotionally. So I was emotionally present with her. I was able to
So
put her need.
can you expound on how emotional presence looks? Just for our hearers and our watchers, what does emotional presence in a marriage or a relationship look like?
Sometimes it's just taking just being, oh, how can I describe it? When someone has an emotion, I can sit with them in the emotion that they have. If it is sadness, I don't have to find out why she's sad, but I can just sit with her in sadness. When she has a complaint, I don't have to provide the answer, but I can just sit with her and says, I understand where you are. So it is almost like just being understanding where people are in all the areas that they're faced with. If they have a insecurity, I can understand how that makes you feel so insecure. So it was just being present and with her that made a difference. I don't know if that explains it.
Well, that's
Yes.
actually great advice, because for me, I'm a lot of Mr. Fix It. I thought I always fix the issue, and sometimes
Yeah.
that's not what's being called for at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remembered, and I remember using this as a reference that this woman had a loving, compassionate husband, and he was with her in all the things that they did. And there was a time when she was going to have breast surgery, and she said to her, she said to her husband, I'm going to have breast surgery. And he said, don't worry about it, honey. You can get one of the prosthetics. And she just got crazy on her. It's like, you gotta be kidding. Well, when she said a similar thing to her husband, to her friend was like, man, these people are going to be cutting all over you. I can't imagine what it is for people to just be, for you to lose part of your body. And so he was not, what she was providing, when her friend was providing comfort, the husband was providing a solution. She didn't want a solution. She had 4 doctors that can give her a solution. So I hope that's a small way to talk about when you're emotionally present with your wife. For me, I used to say, leave psychiatry to the psychiatrist. If I learn anything about, like, let's say I as a premarital counselor, I learned about different types of behavior. But I didn't go home and try to analyze her. I didn't try to analyze her. She's my wife. I'm trying to analyze them.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening just in terms of you know.
I want to bring that story to a close, and for being so scattered all over the place.
No, you good.
No. Mm-mm.
I had an idea. It was my dream that when I retired, I worked as a HVAC supervisor for the city of New York for 30 years. And it was one of my dreams that when I retire, that I would be able to sit with people who are in pain, who are in difficulty, who were facing life-altering. So I started with a CPE course. I started doing a unit in clinical pastoral education. And maybe if God allowed, I would probably get an M. That was my goal. But after the first unit, and I remember distinctly after the first unit, I remember we had finals on the Wednesday night, and then the Friday we flew out and we went to North Carolina, where she grew up, because I have never visited there before. So I wanted to just look at where she grew up and how she grew up and stuff like that. It was important to us. Plus, we were kind of scoping the land to see if this is one of the places that when I retired that I would probably go and live and be a chaplain. Even at that time that I wouldn't spend my entire life in New York City. Well, we got to North Carolina, and one of the highlights, if you're ever in Charlotte, North Carolina, is probably the Billy Graham Museum. So we were next to, and for some reason she couldn't muster enough energy. She just was too tired to get out of bed, and for us to go over to the library, and that was so difficult for me to understand, and for her to understand, because my wife at that time was able to go out and run 7-8 miles. We ran together. Well, we recognized that something has to be awfully wrong where she's this extremely tired and worn out. And we came back to New York on the Sunday, went and see the doctor on the Monday, and got a diagnosis that started a 17-month journey that ended with her death. One that ended with me quitting my job and staying home and providing home hospice care for her, watching her breath and signing the death certificate. Yeah, I certified that, yeah, she died. So that was that journey. I don't know how to move on from this. You probably got to give me some instruction.
Well, listen, for first of all, thank you for being so transparent. That's the first thing I want to say. I could see that's something that obviously touched you deeply, and thank you for sharing that.
I had a question. I know we were talking about the painting from Kenya in the background. What other places have you visited, and what was your favorite over the course of your life?
Well, I'm fortunate that one of the landing spots that I landed after, that, my goal of being a chaplain was kind of got interrupted or adjourned or changed, or however, whatever term you find. Well, I also got an opportunity to There was a brother who was serving as a deacon with me and at the church that we were in, and he became the chief operating officer of a agency that sends missionaries throughout the whole world. And they have some 500 missionaries in 50 different countries. And one of the things that he says, look, you've had a lot of skill in terms of, or experience in helping young couples. There are a lot of young missionary couples that are struggling. Yes, they might be Christians, but they're still struggling with life. And I might be able to help them. So he encouraged me and invited me to come on board with his organization and provide some marital counseling for the young couples in Mexico. Well, that went well, and after a short while, the organization upgraded what I do from being just a marriage mentor now to I'm a care coordinator for the regions of Africa, East, West, and South Africa, as well as South America. So with that, it gave me the opportunity, and I do get the opportunity to visit Senegal, Kenya.
Okay.
I also visit Uganda, Malawi, Rwanda, Benin,
Wow.
South Africa. So there's quite a few, and a lot of European, a few of the European, not a lot, a few of the European countries as well, in terms of that. Wherever we have people, sometimes I find myself attending conferences and stuff like that. So that's why I get to visit Kenya, and I think I'm going back in August, in July. I'm scheduled to go back in July again.
So Kenya's your favorite?
Yeah, Kenya's Kenya. Well, probably Rwanda. Rwanda is probably my favorite place to be. It's difficult to think in terms of, when you think in terms of what happened in Rwanda with the genocide. Rwanda has turned into be a model country it could be a model country for the rest of the world, where the society is so structured and so organized, where everyone that is in Uganda is, meaning in Rwanda, let's say if you were a small business person, you're encouraged to be part of a cooperative. Whether you're on a cycle providing transportation or selling groceries, you got to be part of a cooperative. So it's a very highly structured community, society. One that, one of the things that, and I know I'm probably doing a sidebar, but I apologize for this. Whereas a lot of countries take the surplus from the United States and kind of it stymies their ability to produce. Rwanda only takes technical support. They don't want your goods. They don't want, they just cast me off. They don't want things that would stop their development. But they said, if you have some brains and you want to teach the people here, we're willing to for you to come. So sorry for that sidebar.
So William, we've heard a lot about what we can expect as we're getting older, and we all on this call know that if God is merciful, we're gonna have to deal with all of what you just said, right? Because I know I experience a little bit of that stuff from time to time, the brain fog, forgetting things if I don't write them down and stuff like that. But can you tell us some good things?
Yes, I was going to bring that
About
up.
aging, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're 73.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a wealth of wisdom. But apart from that, what are some good things about getting older? Because I had a woman tell me one time, she said, always ask God to allow you to get older because the alternative is worse. And she was talking about obviously dying young, right?
Right.
So yeah, so can you share with our listeners What are some good things? What do we have to look forward to as we get older?
One of the that I think is probably the greatest thing of growing old, if you live skillfully during your productive years, that you can reach retirement age with financial comfort. And with financial comfort removes a lot of the difficulty that you would get in terms of living. So it takes a lot of the stress of how I'm going to live, where I'm going to live, where can I have vacation. So I think that's probably one of the greatest areas. The fact that, and another thing too is that one of the things of growing old, your mindset changes in terms of how you got things. You become a little bit more accepting. You recognize that you cannot change the world. You're gonna have to live in it. But when I was young, my
That's true.
the change. Now I'm really a lot more compliant. I've looked for a lot less fights. I try to involve myself with a lot less issues. I'm not trying to conquer any more mountains anymore. So there is that part of growing old where you can be at peace with yourself, and recognize that there's an end to your striving. Most of your life you're striving, we're trying to make our mark. There is a place where you could come and have acceptance. This is where I am, and this is who I am. One of the things that I remember saying to my wife that passed, that I look forward to growing old. I look forward for us growing old. Like you see people in the mall talking loud. She can hardly hear, and they're taking care of one another. And there's a little food on his mouth, and she's moving him up, taking the food. And you can see that caring that goes beyond, I'm caring for someone because they're vivacious, something for me, but I'm caring for this person because I'm in love with this person. So you can look forward to growing old with someone where the relationship is not as transactional, but it'll be a lot more emotionally connected. But it won't be transactional. It won't be, what can she do? What can this person do for me? It is just that I love this person because they're my partner.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good.
I have another question. Healthcare. Do you feel that healthcare is enough for elderly people, or do you think there's more that needs to be done to provide care? Because I see that being an issue a lot for people as they're getting older, is the healthcare that's being provided seems like they drop through the cracks, or they're not getting the proper care, or it's just too expensive. What are your outlooks on that? Is something that could be done to better that?
Yeah, I was fortunate that working for DOE for 30 years, it meant that even in retirement, that I still get full health coverage from the DOE, as well as your Medicare. So I'm one of those people that are fortunate that I do have good health care, and also fortunate that I kind of took some proactive steps even way before I got the whole, and I kind of was able to acquire coverage even if I need to go into a nursing home, and that's extremely expensive if you wait till you get older. So I was able to buy at least 5 years of nursing if I need it. But for most people, I think it is, healthcare is a major issue. I don't know if our society is providing as much care as for the elderly folks as they deserve. I think, and what I notice has happened is that most medical institutions now run like businesses, where patients are just customers. And you got to be part of the system. You check in. If you check in, if you said you had a headache, when you're going to see the person, don't tell them that your toenail is hurting. No, you said on the intake form it was a headache, so you can't change. So I think healthcare is one of the issues that need a lot of improvement for the next generation.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a lighter question for you, right? If you could go back to any age of your life, what age would you go back to and why?
I thought about this a lot. One of the things that I sometimes, when I'm in the mood to beat up myself, I kind of look back and says that I'm the type of person who really, when things got tough, that I always kind of escape and not persevere. And probably I said maybe that's why I didn't get a good education and get a great job and stuff like that. I always thought that when life got difficult, when tasks got difficult, that I never had enough stick to it. I never stuck to it enough. I probably need to go back to when I was like 20, when there was a lot of decisions that I made that if probably I was a little bit more focused, if I had a little bit more stick to activity, maybe the outcome of my life would be, I have to go way back to maybe around age 20.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to age 20 with all the knowledge that you have right now, right?
I think we all might be that age, huh?
Yes.
And that is something that we talk about all the time when we says, when we judge people, we says, we're judging them after all of our knowledge, and
Right,
they're kids.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, my goodness. Well, I mean, William, man, I really enjoyed talking to you, obviously, because you're very, transparent. And I think for me, I mean, I'm not that much younger than you, but it's always helpful for the younger generation to get insights and to know what's on the road ahead. So I'm very appreciative of you being willing to share not only your life but your insights and your knowledge, because I think it's just wiser to know what's ahead as opposed to try reinventing the wheel, as they say. So I really appreciate you sharing, man. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And if there's one set of advice, and the advice I give my son is, sometimes we have to listen to the people who are our detractors. Sometimes I don't think we pay enough attention to criticism, but if we paid attention to the people who sometimes are our critics, we will probably get an opportunity to work on a lot of areas in our life that are weak. And that's something I say to my son. Sometimes you can't always be surrounded by people who tell you that you want to hear. But sometimes you got to allow those people to speak who you don't really want to hear what they're saying, but they're probably speaking truth to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Great
That's a
advice.
tough one.
That's
That's a
true.
tough one.
That is a tough one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I would agree with you though. I would agree with you. You know.
Mm-hmm.
As we're coming to close with this, any anything else you might want to share with younger people, or any other insights, any jewels, any gems, anything you might want to share with us before we wrap it up?
I can't think of anything. I think was probably the most helpful thing that I could say to someone. You know, even when we look at in terms of, even if we look at, let's say it was politics, we find that sometimes they have a political lean, and you always tend to listen to people
Mm,
who agree with what you say,
mm,
and you never ever listen to the people who disagree with what you say. And
mm,
it's only in listening to the people who have an opposite opinion that you get a fuller understanding of where truth lies. So that I think I can't find any greater advice but to sometimes pay attention to the dissenting voices, because the dissenting voices might be the voices of truth.
Mm.
I
That's
like
deep.
that. I like
That's
that.
deep. Yeah,
I like that.
that's deep.
Gotta
Thank
store that
you.
later.
You're gonna drop the mic with that one,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
Oh my goodness. William, listen, man. I think that you actually stunned the three of us with your story. I'm just being honest. I should speak for
Yeah,
myself.
definitely. Yeah, for sure. For
This is the
sure.
quietest that the three
So
of us have ever been. Okay. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
I mean, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah, this is and to look back at it, it it was just the way that my life unfolded. I don't really, and I usually tend to think that anyone who got the cards that I dealt was dealt to me will just deal with them that the way that they were dealt. I don't think I had too much choice in any of the things that I did. I just chose to follow, as we say in grief recovery, I just did the next thing. And next thing, after one issue, I just did the next thing. What can I do? And I just did the next thing that came natural. And
Mm,
and that's what happened. So,
mm,
you know,
mm.
Right.
You're muted, Cammy.
I was there. All right. I have one more question. I have one more question.
Start.
So, so, because obviously I counsel people, and one of the things that people say to me is like when something tough has happened in their life, or something really, caused them a lot of grief, that they want to know why it happened, right? And I'm just wondering for you, have you felt like you resolved that in terms of like why what has happened in your life, or you've just accepted it that it has happened?
yeah, I think I accepted as my journey. I accepted that this is the way that life unfolds for me. And if I put my Christian hat on, I would say that it was all in God's sovereignty, that
Mm,
it didn't take him by surprise. I was surprised when these things happened, but I think I'm sure he wasn't surprised. And I've got the grace at every turn to do everything that he asked to do. So I just did the natural thing of taking the next step. But I don't think I ever spend any time asking why.
Hmm.
mm,
Okay.
Why not? I probably asked why not. You know,
Hmm.
one of the things that was so interesting is that just before I told you that I did a unit of clinical pastoral education, and I got an opportunity to spend 1 year at Queens New York Hospital, being a chaplain there and going into the doctor will call you into the emergency room, or you go into the ICU and somebody's ready to die, and they're scared to die. And you give them a spiel, you speak to them. Well, there was a time that I had to listen to the advice that I gave them, and I had to say it to myself. What did I say? What did I say to the husband that just lost his wife when I was in the hospital? Well, I had to take my advice from myself. And I was reminded a lot of times, you said a lot of stuff to people. It's time that you listen to some of the advice that you gave. So, and I never asked why me. I never asked why me. I thought I was prepared for the time, and the time would be prepared for me.
Okay.
Wow.
Willie B. Listen, man, we appreciate you, and
Yeah.
thanks for coming on the podcast, and thank you for sharing, man. Definitely, you're giving us a lot to think about, and we appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Right,
Good.
so
Well, good to have met you, brother. I'll see you.
I'm gonna see you at the gym, man.
Hey, keep him in the gym too, man.
I'm gonna see you in the gym.
I'll get both of you in the gym.
I'm there every day.
Uh-huh.
See, I'm holding my shoulder, man.
I'm trying to be like you.
It's fun.
Right.
Start well.
Right. Picture of health.
All right, William.
Okay.
We will talk, man.
Okay.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you for coming
Bye.
on.
All right.
You're welcome. Bye.
If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy counting.